Hello and welcome to our channel, MarshStream, your public performance broadcast platform. Please make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel. You can also donate to our tip jar and support the arts and artists of MarshStream by clicking the link below in the description. Check out our website, themarsh.org, for all upcoming live performances. Now, enjoy the show.
Now, April is National Poetry Month, and this Saturday's Solo Performer Spotlight features poetry readings by Christine No, Theo Matthews, and Clyde Always, with a post-poetry discussion. Unfortunately, Gillian Connolly unexpectedly had to bow out. She sends her love and regrets. All right, we will start tonight with a reading by Christine No. Welcome, Christine.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. This is really exciting. Gillian, if you're watching, I hope you feel better. Yeah, the Marsh is a really, special space for me. When I first moved to the Bay, it was one of the first cultural institutions I found myself in, and I met a lot of really great people there that I love very much. It was a crazy year. And then there was also a pandemic. So I'm going to read you guys a couple poems about it being a crazy year and then there being a pandemic. The first poem is called Prayer for the Season. I am a woman abated, a city block upturned, 4-alarm fire, tongue held in a cage match. I am a phone call refused, an exceptional facade. It takes a village to raise a monster. I'm a whole village raised. Oh, executioner, show me how it got inside. Show me where the fire started. Show me where I lost my wallet. Where rot began, where fester left a bloodbath. Whole auditoriums spellbound, gasoline in the drain, heads severed, all ventriloquists dragged and quartered, tongue evicted. Mumbled a tone-deaf hosanna, dumbfounded, Lord save us. This world is open season. Whole intersections stopped at massacre and crosshair, the corners unaccounted. Bless our valiant failures, late bloomers to the schoolyard, the sitting duck alone. This world is open wound. Lord, bless the prodigal arson, the self-appointed executioner, the vengeful sullen queen. They come hunting. Glory their inheritance, pockets full of teeth and evidence, and Lord bless the rest of us, the blissful useless. This world is open season. Easy targets, split wide, open wound. And won't you keep us, helpless onlookers, our best intentions, our wrung hands, our rubber necks. Thank you. It's always strange reading online because really I'm just reading to my dog in my kitchen, but also not really. Thanks. So my next piece is called Psychopomp. Name your rivers, mark each one different, dig nails into their banks, become a bridge elsewhere. Your laughter is an abandoned vessel. You consider this turn of phrase, look away. And I, after nights without sleep, stumble over your vertebrae, forget to be gentle, lost in all that supposition. Someone else's mouth, disavowing my own. Counting new knots in my back, your interest in syntax, what new sounds, more nightmare rhetoric. Apocalypse, paralysis, every shitstorm and snore thereafter, the same synaptic mantra. This is the apocalypse. And I am paralyzed. This is the apocalypse, and I'm paralyzed. Awesome. All right, I'm just gonna keep rolling through these. The next piece is called Lucid Dream. And if anybody else is a very anxious person, maybe you can relate to this as well. All right, Lucid Dream. Davy Jones's lover, sidewalk after a storm, so many names for a broken vessel, a hull, a shell, a hairline, fracture, a seam come loose, a bruise, 6-car pileup, So many names for a wreck. The door in your chest, sometimes a gap, others a canyon, never an exit. Strategy, don't say ever open or close, just lonely. Write what you know, just lonely. Write that. You aren't just lonely, are a crease, an easy fold, high functioning, overwhelmed bolt cutter. First overboard should the boat sink, jumper. You wake up drowning every morning. The ocean in your chest bemoans you. If the earth would hold still a moment, still the churning, reclaim a center, control my momentum, stave this anxiety, enjoy a whole day, such momentous occasion. Imagine if it would. Thanks. How are we doing? All right. This next piece is called Osip Mandelstam's Egg. It's after Milena Morling, a poet that I just really love. This is a piece from her poem, also called Osip Mandelstam's Egg. Quote, is there a hall that contains the sky, but at dusk smeared with its own blood? Do you think you will find your own mind in there, free at last from its 84,000 delusions? Osip Mandelstam's Egg, after Milena Morling. Ever fit your foot or fist inside an egg? Never mind the spatial limitations. Hall full of possible, what did you have in mind? Blind eye the cracks in plaster, see the dead vines creeping in. I hate it when people say, you have to crack a few eggs to make an omelet, or she's a few eggs short of a dozen. Once upon a time, a different almost somebody left this brittle Fabergé. Unformed, a bright idea, perhaps dribbles yellow from the hairline. Unformed, broken is the expectation. Nothing lasts. Last meals spoil, you turned out brittle, and the mind is brutal, believe me. You'd find it better served, poached and timid, undressed, spoon-fed. Imagine a hall that contains the sky. Imagine the daily air raid, and at dusk, an armistice, the nightly cease. Imagine, if you will, the good sleep, and this brief assembly. The dead, the dead, the dead eventually. Thank you. I think I have just enough time for one more. And I haven't read this one in a while, and it's about my grandma. This is called A Pigeon is a Rock Dove. Before poetry, grandmother taught me to pray. Hallowed be thy name, and lost her mind. Her solemn back, curled form, eye child, one eye cracked. My grandmother lives in the shelter of my undoing, holds my hand asleep, contained. Within her dreams, my heart breaks, her black eyes gray, her hair white, all at once. My grandmother, all dreams speak, up she floats, reels the popcorn ceiling and back, breaks heavy, glass mine shatters, the bedroom. My grandmother, shelter while I unraveled. My grandmother, sheltered, unravels. All pigeons are rock doves, someone told me, symbolic of peace and good news. Blessed are the meek, sky rats flock a pizza crust. I feel for the one, footless straggler, torn wing, nubbed flutter, worse for wear by way of broom, by tire or swift kick. I cheer for that. Ain't dead yet, bud. Good for you, bird. Don't need feet to fly. Mourning doves, they never bothered me. Dumb things all murmur and free. They rush the tops of buildings all at once. What same circuitous thought propels them? What keeps my grandmother tethered, hard bed and ceiling, no TV, headache, no sleep, all horses, legs fused and bow-tied. Determined, beatific thing, won't you let go? Oh, pathetic, gentle hobbler, I cheer for you. At home, we mourn too early. In dreams, she walks through walls, tells me, no sleep, headache, shouts and incantations, all horses, old histories, these legs are bowed to God. In the morning, my grandmother sees birds on the ceiling, describes them the same, asks, aren't you tired, pigeon? Don't you want to stop? Let go and rest now, gentle dove. Thank you so much.
Well, Christine, that was beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Beautiful. So is this the first time you're reading on Zoom?
This is not the first time I'm reading on Zoom. I'm really happy about how, like, when the pandemic started, so many reading series in the Bay Area, these organizers just really like jumped to holding space for everyone online. Y'all definitely are doing it. The Racket, Red Light Lit, Quiet Lightning. And I've been lucky enough to be able to participate in those readings and really find community there again. Yeah.
That's wonderful. I have to say your background is amazing. I'm like, is that a real window or is that a picture of a window? But it's a real window and it's not ruining your light. It's amazing.
Film school education.
Hey, did I forget to read your bio? Because I read it before practicing it, but I think I didn't actually read it. But somebody's got to tell me, did I or did I not read your bio? No. Let me read it now, okay? Christine is a child of Korean immigrants. As a writer and filmmaker, she is a Sundance Alum, a VONA Fellow, two-time Pushcart Prize Nominee, and Best of the Net Nominee. You can find her work in the Rumpus, Entropy, Columbia Journal, and more, as well as various anthologies. Christine's first full-length poetry collection is forthcoming in Barrelhouse.
Yeah, Barrelhouse Books is putting out my first collection of poetry called Whatever Love Means, and that'll be out in the fall.
Well, after hearing these poems, I cannot wait.
Thank you so much.
So you'll be back? Do you feel well enough to come back after, just for a few minutes for the Q&A?
Absolutely, I will be here.
All right. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. So next up we have Thea Matthews, and I'm going to read her bio first, like a good person, a good hostess. Thea, born and raised in San Francisco, is a queer, Black, Indigenous, Mexican poet, Black feminist, educator, and activist. Currently, she is an MFA candidate for poetry at New York University. Her debut poetry collection, Unearth the Flowers, was recently published by Red Light Lit Press in 2020, and she has work published in Atlantic Review, Foglifter Journal, The Rumpus, and others. Hello, Thea. How are you?
I'm well. How are you? Good. Hi, everyone. I'm Thea Matthews. I have some poems for you, and I'm really grateful to be here, and thank you for inviting me to Marsh, and happy National Poetry Month. Here we are. I love how we are able to adapt and still utilize what we still have to maintain that connection, right? I don't take electricity for granted. I don't take Wi-Fi for granted. People are making bank off of Zoom. Who would have thought this would be the way that we would maintain our social communication? And so yes, poems. I'm gonna read you some from Unearth the Flowers that I have right here, and then I'll read you some newer work from other manuscripts that I'm currently working on, one Grim City, the other Americana. But let's start first with Unearth. Not everyone swims the depth I swim. Faces appear, disappear, then reappear on oil-stained streets. And for once, I would like to go a week without thinking of him. His death haunts me like a relentless weed who grows all year round, occupies the soil in a sit-in, defies time, protests the seasons, calls my name to the shore I once called body. Waves wash over me. I am home, eyes navigable, body a blimp, blood purified. Waves dissolve memories, the names we print on sand. I swore his fingers would grow old with the silver strands of his hair, but they will not. He left before me. You know, it's a trip to follow the one and only Christine No. I love her work, and I'm so proud that she is coming out with a debut poetry collection in the fall. It is Countdown, and I'm looking forward to supporting and just, yeah, go Christine. All right, what else do we got here from this book? Chrysanthemum. And she pours, breaks the sky with tears, cracks wind chimes with her teeth. She beats on my front door. Feeble walls, rooftops, windowsills, tremble. I am left shaking, entangled in the violaceous clusters of her hair. My body at night, alone, freezes. One eye remains open when asleep, stomach habitually stressed, tight, hurts to digest and release. Legs stiff, knees crack, heart palpitates, ears easily hear a cough through walls, cries through buildings. Yet, when moon rises, I bathe in her light, the high tides, the reverence, the petrichor, the reassurance, the hope. One day, this body will know love. Gazania. I alone extinguish that raptorial yearning to taste butter on tongue, rub honey between fingers. Tangerine lips pucker up for a kiss when planted in full sun. When dresses silhouette the galaxy of my body among sequin stars, rhinestone laughter. I open when planted in full sun. Flow of Oshun. I exceed the price of elephant tusk. Fresh waters bow, continents offer, ripe oranges and cinnamon to boil the bones of who stole my mother's body. From Grim City. In this city, you dig deep enough, you'll find the bones. Smell dead skin rotting, feel the stiffness of limbs, transplanted, pickpocketed, in a stream of stolen promises. In this city, where the Pacific cries, bodies buried in missionaries, street kids disappear, spirits linger, long welfare lines, methadone clinics, and a drunk middle-aged pimp asks a pretty young girl, "How old are you?" as the pickup line to say she's pretty, too pretty, pretty enough to sell. Hands are always lurking for their next prey, a new sap from faulty roots of beetle-infected trees. Time quickly wears on the skin as money pushes City Hall. Ghettos to high-rises look the same, with tech valleys man-made, pharmaceuticals a high man-made. No one ever wants to come down. In this city, grass wrestles with the trees, and the crows and sparrows laugh at the debauchery of it all. In this city, you hear it all. And I'll do with Gangrene. I wonder if you hear Brooklyn. It's all right. A thin body, the city with gangrene, the slow decay, the decomposition, the welfare line skyscraper benumbs limbs. The localized death discoloration of smooth skin once golden brown, of apartments once home to the blue blood, of mom and pop shops once thriving, of streets once filled with humbled families, of playgrounds once held by immigrant laughs, worn in Payless shoes, neon ball scrunchies, heralds new money, a smeared one-tone laugh, same look, each district hides the methadone clinic, the elder flirting with a child, the drunk activist who raped a woman, the politician guilty of deceit, the police force warped, guilty of murder. A Confederate soldier boards the bus with a bouquet of funeral flowers to the commodified debauchery of the beatnik, the hipster, the hippie, the yuppie, the millennial hipster, the techie, the apathetic one who moved in from the middle of nowhere, or some other city, now strolling, now sipping on $5 pour-overs, now in line midnight to pay for $15 burritos, not including chips, pre-COVID. The latex know better than to suck rich cocks for free. They charge triple. The forlorn snatch duffel bags, sell electronics on streets, steal car registration tags, and smash windows to find their next fix. A city of haves and have-nots, stands, struggles, divided. Urine-stained blue hospital pants trudges concrete. Worn jeans laughs to himself on the bus. And animal-shaped hair barrettes on tightly greased scalps are found nowhere for blocks. The new metropolitan dissonance. The elders in canes try to walk and hold their groceries. The town's negligence scrapes the bottom for leftovers, shoved in boxes near gutters, near brands, near five-star trendy restaurants where heels and speed mix in a martini glass. For those who want to call this city your home, make sure you are the vertebrae connected to the willful spine, enduring the obstructed circulation. Make sure you are the dirt, flowers who see the wings of hummingbirds, the Samaritan who feeds the hungry, who knows, who hears the tears of the underclass with no butlers, no paid assistants. If not, then you are a digit dismembered. And then Americana. Slash each star, stare into each incision, state, district, settlement, revoked beneath the rocks. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound. Thought I had to die to live. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Deep within a district, settlement, revoked beneath the rocks. The damned have been boxed. Liberty is liberty, not a euphemism for enslavement of the body. Now, amazing grace, how sweet the sound. Thought I had to die a slow suicide in a country of commercialized politicians clamoring for attention, a torrent of abuse. I lived to live. I once was lost, but now I'm found deep within a trench, opening of an eye. What does it mean, an abolished state, a nation reconfigured? I cut straight. Weeping blood on white, a silent letter, a loud noun, fracture in the mouth, absence infected, gums bleed, of valor, of tyranny, the deception of purity, lies hung under a thunderous, omnipotent sky, the fracture in the mouth, abscess infected, gums this country since 1776, a pitchfork rakes red skin, makes black blister, America, a new constellation in the heavens, bleed of valor, of tyranny, the deception of purity, lies a brigade of brutality. An eye closed shoots, the sanctity of barbarity and life cannot coexist, lips unstitched, hung under a thunderous, omnipotent sky. The savagery sanctioned by state, here the evolution of savages in tricorn hats, rifles stuffed with cotton. I kind of butcher that one, but I'm going to close with this one, and then I'll call it a day. And thank you all for listening. Cold white, deficit, a room, just is, nothing, you said, you did, no one, charged, innocence, died, the needles unstitch, my burnt lips, ulcerated tongue of cast iron, plates, suffocates, Psalm scrapes what you did. No one charged. Innocence died. I stand, lipstick opened in one hand, a torch to sand, rancid corners, neglected cops, maggoty apples of man, the needles unstitch my burnt lips, ulcerated tongue. I screech like hawks, no eagles, once stolen, kept hostage, now curious to roam, to kill, to love. My blood of cast iron plates, suffocates, psalm scrapes, what torture, sparkles, stars, ever so bright. Each sidewalk laments, violence, a warrant to be here, unsafe. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Thea. That was great. What amazing two poets so far. And we're going to have, I think, 3 amazing poets. So I'm assuming you've read a bunch on Zoom as well. Is that correct?
Yes, I have. Mm-hmm.
Of course, in the Q&A, we can talk a little bit about what it was like to have your book come out during the pandemic.
Yeah, and I did my whole book launch while having COVID. Rock and roll.
Wow. Well, wonderful. Looking forward till after Clyde, and we'll be back. So Clyde Always. I know Clyde because he did a show at the Marsh. And what a show it was. Let me read your bio, Clyde. Clyde Always is an accomplished cartoonist, poet, painter, novelist, and Vaudevillian showman. He lives in San Francisco, California. And I didn't get the answer to it. It says with his wife, Kaylee the Ukulele. Are you saying that your wife is a ukulele?
Maybe.
Or is your wife Kaylee?
She's right here.
Kaylee's your ukulele. Okay, got it. So Clyde, let's see you go. Let's see your work. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, come on and step right up, folks. Go and grab yourself a front row seat before the gun, and they're going fast. Hell, you don't want to miss this. No way. It's time for another exciting installment of the Clyde Always Show. With me, your always clever, always handsome, always charming host, Clyde Always. And no, I ain't no common carnival barker. I am the Bard of the Lower Hate. And this is the tale of the hippest coyote who ever lived. Now, once in a runcible whack-a-mole city, renowned for its woodpecker pie, there lived a coyote so awfully pretty, and monthly he'd howl, conceitedly gritty, "Oh, no hipper coyote than I!" Then lunging and prancing and shriekingly dancing, he'd frighten the moon from the sky. But during a succulent Saturday luncheon of purple gadoinka flambe, while smacking and cracking and munching and crunching, the coyote spotted a scrunchy worm scrunching, and this did the green feller say, in a wriggly, wiggly, wonderfully squiggly, giggly sort of a way. "I've seen me 1,000 yip, hippin' yippers, but none so hip yippin' as you. So why don't you ditch all these derpity dippers and go on and slap on your big doggy slippers and dig you some dugout canoe? Get begging or barter, otherwise charter your trip to Zimbala, Mizzou. It's a land where the rootin' roots redder and rubies, and whizzlers never unwhiz. The mayor's consulted by blue-footed boobies, and grizzly gorillas is peddling doobies on rivers of fumbucker fizz. Zimbala Mizzouzers don't tolerate losers, a land like no other there is. And the worm, having come to the end of his story, enveloped himself in the dirt. But for setting him straight on a pathway to glory, the grateful coyote said thank you before he devoured that worm for dessert, then downed his martini and straightened his beanie and tidied his paws on his shirt. Then over the murky dirt meadows he trotted and blew through a dukedom of bums, crossed patches where unlucky pumpkins had rotted, till finally yonder the freeway he spotted, just past where the humdinger hums. And he stood in the flowers and counted the hours, hitchhiking without any thumbs, when all of a sudden along come a trucker named Big Billy Bobby O'Keefe, who slowed to a halt with a wink and a pucker. But quick the coyote ingested the sucker, and lo, did his truck he bequeath. Then grinding the shifter, that coyote grifter, he drove away, picking his teeth, then flying at hundreds of miles a minute down roads never traveled before. Why, he bested a desert with no creature in it and crested the summit of Mount Wakawinnet while smashing the gas to the floor. Hell, there wasn't one tire not fully on fire when skidded he up to the shore. Though the spray of the breakers was frigidly stinging, he dove muzzle first to the sea. And on back of an orca he ended up clinging, and told him, now fishy, I don't mind you singing, so long as you're singing to me. Just watch where you blow and come on and get going. There's some place I'm trying to be. Then fearlessly into the ocean they coasted and sneered at the soggy abyss. Endearingly marshmallow plankton they roasted, as chalice by chalice they grinningly toasted your health and your wealth and your bliss. And all of the while, each nautical mile, they offered each other a kiss. But somewhere out west of the Straits of Gerflunder, in buckets it started to rain, and spooked by the crackerous roar of the thunder, the whale and coyote were torn asunder, the latter a howl in pain, as up he went hurling, and round him went swirling the winds of a hurricane. And up to the heavens the torrent it shot him, the clouds did he floppingly breach, and with vengeance the moon reached a fist out to swat him, and downward he fell till some mackerels caught him, but gladly he gobbled them each. Then bashful and buggled he swam, and he struggled and flopped on a Tartary beach. He woke to a morning persnickedly sunny, where skyscrapers distantly gleamed. And rising, he waded through thickets of honey, ignoring the crickets who chirped at him funny, as onward he strutted and beamed, and knew not the name to the city he came to, though vaguely familiar it seemed. And as he was walking, he spotted another coyote on Runciple Road, and asked him politely, excuse me now, brother, but is this Zimbala something or other? His fellow coyote just glowed. It said, pleased to meet you. Perhaps I can treat you to some woodpecker pie, a la mode. Thank you very much. Hey, everybody, I'm Clyde Always. And it's a pleasure to be here with you. And it's an honor to be reading alongside Miss No and Miss Matthews. Thank you for that. That was beautiful. And thank you very much to Stephanie and to David Harata with the tech assist, as it were. Anyway, before I carry on with some more original material, I do have to pay homage to one of the greatest poets that this city ever produced. My late mentor, Mr. Stephen Coppell, a humorist of epic proportions. And if you're unfamiliar with his work, I would highly recommend you check some out. Anyway, I'm going to be reading from his final book of poetry. We lost him last year, unrelated to the pandemic. Anyway, Stephen Coppell, you are sorely missed, and I'll present to you guys a brief work of verse from the man himself, the verse man. It's entitled, No Ordinary Date. Helen and fiance Hugo bent over, getting eyeful when the tower's elevator pauses, door opening to disgorge the finest looking Trojan horse in memory and a fighting force. in ancient gear, rappelling down to the boulevard, that, in its tizzy of traffic, slows not a slack at the backside. Sight of hairy Agamemnon and his little Agamems skating, arms pumping behind a tour bus from Troy. You can check that out in More Picnic Poetry by Stephen Coppell, my late mentor. Rest in peace. Hey, one brief little announcement. My most recent book, Samantha Muffinbaker and the Funny Land of Flink, is now available on Amazon. So if you want to pick up a copy, if you dug the Coyote poem, I would venture a guess you might dig this work of wonder. So please get a copy for your friends and, you know, your little ones. They might dig it. All right. Yes, poor Stephen Coppell. Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted by the chat. Everybody stop chatting for a second. All right, there we go. Yeah, I do have a COVID poem, and it's a bit of it's a heavy piece, so I'm going to take my hat off. Buckle up for it. It's entitled March 15th, 2020, a love poem. On the threshold of a brave new world, no rivers rose, no fires swirled, no asteroids careened, no missiles flew. But the grand finale ever neared. There through this hellish gate I peered and gazed at everything I feared. With you. A blackness so engulfed the skies, like earth she'd spat in both my eyes, but still I searched for any speck of blue. When swooping down from such a height, all slanting, sloping in their flight, 'neath scarlet skies, I dodged their bite with you. They drove us quickly underground, where endlessly alarms would sound, and for the workers, one last whistle blew. Then stinging like a ruthless lash, the screens, they'd flicker, glow, and flash. In awe, I watched that monster thrash with you. And specters by the thousands marched in hospital blankets, freshly starched. Before our eyes, their ranks forever grew. While stooping, dim, in distance cloaked, dear Libertas, she wheezed and choked, but helplessly, my cheeks I soaked with you. Those breathless weeks we laid in wait, but all the while I faced that gate through which I'd glimpsed a world not brave, but new. And as loathsome seemed my path to start, the weight most pulling at my heart was the fear of being forced apart from you. Thank you very much. I know it's a doozy, but we're getting through it, aren't we? It's almost over. That's what they keep telling us anyway. Anyway, I'd like to leave you guys with a different kind of love poem. Do I have time for another one or no? It's ever so brief. Okay, fabulous. It's going out to my little Tootsie Pop. Believe it or not, me and Kaylee are in the process of getting a divorce, but we've decided to continue working together. But anyway, this is going out to my real life fiance, my little darling. Anyway, with no more further ado, it's entitled Where the Butterflies Fuck. One morning I went out a-hiking along a tremendable trail and noticed the glimmers a-striking the shell of a slinkery snail. So warmly this crawler I greeted. Hey, Slimy, I opted to say. Replied he before he retreated. What? Today be your luckiest day. This trail which you're currently trucking, right clear up the mountain it winds. The butterflies up there is fucking, and there your beloved you'll find. So onward I went in a hurry, but paused at the bubbling brook, 'cause somebody slickery furry seductively shot me a look. Politely then I to this beaver inquired what secret she knew. She told me I wouldn't believe her. She said, it's too good to be true. But gravely she warned of the peril that guarding this treasure of mine, a grizzly, and gladly this barrel make shish kebabs out of your spine. Well, I thanked her and kept on ascending till shrieks from the fathoms below where blusters the eagles were bending, insisted I'd not far to go. Past meadows of poppies romancing, through jungles of spruces I snuck, and spied my beloved a-dancing up there where the butterflies fuck. Astounded I was at her beauty, where it halted the passage of time, though sweeter than peaches my cutie stood barely as tall as a lime, where she playfully frolicked, ignoring her captor asleep on his paws, the beastie whose slobberous snoring rattled his monstrous jaws. So carefully toward her I prowled, and snatched her right out of the air, and fleeing I jauntily howled, "Come get me, you big ugly bear!" Ought not I have boasted my pleasure? Bad sportsmen are so without class. See, though I escaped with his treasure, he chomped off a chunk of my ass. A lifetime so splendidly rosy, together we withered with age. I sprawled on the sofa so cozy, her snug in a parakeet cage. But finally did I unlock it and take her to travel about. Well, I got her right here in my pocket. God damn it, she must have got out. The end. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Clyde.
Oh, thank you. Hats off to Stephanie. Thanks, Stephanie.
Let's bring back Christine and Thea. Clyde, you stay on. We'll have our little post-poetry Q&A. Thank you all. What a wonderful, diverse night of poetry. Amazing. Thank you. So let's talk a little bit about what it's been like for you all during COVID. I'm assuming there's pros and cons. But first, Thea, are you the only one of us that actually, did anyone else get COVID here?
Not that I know of.
Just you. You're in New York, huh?
Yeah, but I got it in San Francisco.
Oh, did you bring it to New York?
I did. I was a long hauler. But I wasn't contagious by that point.
Good. And you couldn't get it, so that plane ride wasn't too bad for you, I imagine, if that's how you went.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so tell me, what has it been like for COVID? And let's start, Christine, if it's all right with you, since you read first.
Sure. What has it been like?
Or whatever you want to say. It's fine.
Yeah, I definitely went through all of the COVID stages. I baked some bread. I really got into cooking. What else did people do? Baked a lot of bread. I did adopt a COVID pet. Her name is Ruthie, and she is a mini healer. Hold on. And
Yes, let's see the fur baby.
yeah, this is Ruthie. She's terrified. But when I got her last May, and she was like super, super abused. They found her outside the prison in Bakersfield. And she spent like the first 4 or 5 months like sitting in a corner of my bedroom, like refusing to leave. And like that is like not like refusing to leave, like peeing everywhere, corner of my bedroom. And then finally, like, I don't know, I spent like 11 hours a day sitting next to this dog. And come October, we went on our first walk, and I don't know, I learned a lot about celebrating the small victories, right? And the things that we can control, and really being mindful and present for those things. She's like, please put me down.
How old is Ruthie?
Ruthie's about 2. Sausage, yeah, she's about 2. So yeah, that was my favorite COVID experience, I think.
Okay. Any poetry COVID? I mean, I'm really glad you talked about your dog, because literally that's all I talk about is my dogs. But did you have any COVID poetry things you wanted to say?
You know, I found it was interesting. I think a lot of people were able to write. I was not. Yeah, I had a really hard time kind of like accessing words and expression while part of this huge cultural trauma. I feel like on the other end of things, I'm starting to now, it's all starting to kind of happen now. It always takes me a little bit of time away from the actual thing, which, you know, is like really inconvenient when you have nothing but time because you're locked at home. But yeah, all to say, I didn't do a ton of writing during COVID, and I'm finding I'm doing a lot more of it now. So see.
Well, I mean, I think that's an interesting thing to hear, actually. You know, that's an interesting fact, you know, that it didn't, the words were not
Yeah, it was certainly
verbally,
frustrating.
yeah.
It was very frustrating. But you know, I went to, like I said earlier, it was really these like reading spaces and, you know, just being amongst community and other poets and writers who wanted to share their work, who wanted to come together, who wanted to hold that community. That was just really heartening and really, really necessary in a way that I would never have guessed. So.
Well, thank you. Thea, how about you?
You know, it took a minute. Like initially, right? Like I caught, like March was when everything shut down. So between March and June, just like working on like getting the book out, that was my main focus. And then yeah, I wasn't really writing that much, and then just trying to recover. And then I really started like tapping into the creative energies once I moved, honestly. So like last fall, that's when it was just pouring out of me, and I was able to just immerse myself in a new project.
Well, where did you move? You moved to New York,
Yeah,
or
I moved to New York. Yeah, I'm at NYU right now in their MFA program. So I think school structure really, like I'm into structure. I need structure. And even though everything is remote, I'm still impressed. I mean, yeah, even though it's remote, there has still been a strong community in the sense of like just fostering mentorship and also just exploration, right, of literature and critical engagement of literature. That then kind of helps set the ball rolling. And then, yeah, kind of like just
so,
writing off of that.
so are you saying that you moved from San Francisco? Where'd you move
Yeah, I'm
from?
born and raised in SF, and I moved to Brooklyn last July.
So you moved, have you met anybody? I mean, to move, maybe it doesn't matter because you don't see anybody and you can just talk to everybody you know from the past.
No, I mean, there was like, you know, a brief period where I saw more squirrels than people. And I started to like, oh my God, I think I'm learning how to speak sparrow. But there are people. I take walks. I have 2 roommates, you know, the screen, even though we're not in person, I'm not talking to myself. Like I'm, you know, I see you, I see you, I see you. So connecting with people virtually, right? And then in person, like I said, it took some time. I was kind of bonding really tight with the Brooklyn squirrels and the Brooklyn raccoons out here.
And you said your book came out during COVID and you had to promote it. What was that like?
Interesting. You know, we adapt. I think we're very much creative creatures, like just as a species. And you know, Red Light Lit and Jennifer Lewis, who runs Red Light Lit, did I think an exceptional job in terms of just, you know, her own series, right? And then connecting with other events and other bookstores. I think it was good. I mean, with all things considered, right? Having to like adapt and shift took an adjustment, but you know, here we are.
So did you do COVID launch events? You know what I mean? Like a lot of virtual things?
A lot of virtual things. Yeah, Zoom, you know, IG Live, YouTube, yeah, Facebook Live.
Interesting. And Clyde, you were talking a little bit about how it affected you when we got together for our pre-show tech.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know, if you might know this about me, but I've been hosting the open mic night at Cafe International at Hayton Fillmore since 2014. And it got shut down when the lockdown happened. So then there was some Zoom stuff going on, but I couldn't really get into it. In fact, I'm not too adept at the whole Zoom thing, so I hope I'm not talking too loud for any of you people. I'm just used to projecting out in the real world. But anyway, the happy ending to that whole anecdote is that I started doing a guerrilla in-person open mic in defiance of all shelter-in-place orders, and we've gotten away with it scot-free so far, and it's been a ton of fun. In fact, we just got a promotion via the Nudge. If you've ever heard of the Nudge, they send out mass text messages to like 1,000 people. So we got swamped last Friday. It was a ton of fun. So anyway, if you want to read poetry in person to a real live audience, come and see me at the Scott Street Labyrinth any Friday night, 6-ish p.m. But you'd be very welcome. And it's great. I mean, there's lots of room to distance too. So if you want a distance, feel free.
So people are socially distancing and not socially distancing? Is that what you're saying?
Most newcomers are socially distancing. We're a pretty tight-knit gang. So, the group of regulars that come. So sometimes we'll, come within 6 feet of each other. But as far as I know, nobody's gotten sick yet.
Well, hopefully they don't.
Yeah, I hope not.
And seems like I had my second vaccination. I'm a week into it. It sounds like Christine, you just had yours? First or second? What about you, Thea?
I had my first shot of the Pfizer today.
That's amazing. 3 out of 4 poets had their shots in the last 24 hours. The other one being Gillian, who's not here because of it. But that's 3 of you. Whoa. And then there's me, but I'm a week out. And Clyde, have you had anything?
No, I haven't had it.
Well, someday if you want it, I suppose you will have it.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I'll just go around once really quickly. Anything you all want to say? And then it's, believe it or not, it's time.
Wow, thanks. This was so much fun. Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure reading with Clyde and with Thea. As always, hi Thea. Hi. Again, Stephanie, thank you so much. And David, thanks for manning the stuff.
Thank you.
You're here.
On those coattails, yes, thank you, David. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Marsh. And such a joy and honor to read with you, Christine and Clyde. I won't be able to see you on the streets anymore in the Lower Haight, but it's all good. It's good to know that you are alive and well. We all are, and just thank you for having me and inviting me to be part of this.
Thank you. Wonderful poets, both of you, all 3 of you. And Clyde, we've got in the chat, where is your labyrinth poetry?
If you want full details, just go to ClydeAlways.com. And there's a whole, a bulleted list of what to do and where to go and when to be there and all of that. But yeah, Scott Street Labyrinth in the Lower Haight.
So it's Clyde Always, CLYDE, always like always, A.
Clyde is in Bonnie and Clyde, and Always is in I'll always be Clyde Always, ClydeAlways.com.
And it's also in the chat right now. Any last words, Clyde?
Thank you so much, Steph. Thank you.
Well, thank you all. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Relax if you got the shot and enjoy whatever happens. And Clyde, thank you. Hope to see you all at or in or on Zoom at the Marsh. And I just want to let you all know, next week, come see the Solo Performer Spotlight. We are doing with Daryl Van Leer, who did Mandela, Let Freedom Reign, unbelievable performer and singer and all that. Next week, we're having The Escape of Frederick Douglass. So join us for that, everyone. If anyone wants to make a tip to our tip jar, support our artists. And thank you, thank you, thank you. Toodaloo.
Toodaloo.
Blessings. Thank you. Bye.
How do I describe my journey with your mother? Who takes care of you? Who takes you to the doctor when you're sick? Your mother.
Good morning, New York. Buenos dias. It's me. What's up?
We went out for lunch at a sushi place where she tried sushi for the first time and she liked it.
I see that change can happen. I know things can shift and change for good.
I am dizzily dazzled with stars in my eyes.
Same level as I broke my neck. But he's not getting the same return to function I am.
And I don't want any of your smart aleck sex talk that I usually get when I get.
This is beyond the Marsh because what you're doing is planting beautiful seeds for artists to grow.